Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So, as some of you know, I recently became an owner of a short-term rental. I actually turned one of the apartments I already had into a short-term rental after the pandemic. So, in addition to that, I've also visited a number of Air BNBs. This particular video is going to be a suggestion for those who own short-term rentals or Airbnbs. Before, I had a message for short-term rental guests, particularly travel nurses. This time it's the other way around. So I recently came back from a trip, and there are a number of things that I'm noticing that I don't think a lot of owners notice. Here's one. When you own an Airbnb or a short-term rental, especially if you do not live in the building, you should hire a handyman to take a look and investigate the property. I'm going to say at least every 6 months out of the year. I know that some people do it yearly, some people even do it quarterly. But I believe that there are some people that are not doing it at all. The reason why I say this is because the last place that we stayed at had a very severe moldy smell. Now, when I read the reviews, I did read that there was an odor, but I thought that the odor was because the owner allows pets in the unit, right? And many of the previous people in the reviews, they mentioned that they were smelling a pet odor. Well, after doing 2 gut rehabs, I realized that was not a pet odor that I was smelling. That was mold. Okay, I couldn't figure out exactly what was moldy, but I know that it came from the bathroom. The house is very, very old in itself, so it is quite common that because of what was used in the past, mold may have developed somewhere. It might have been behind the wall. You see, some contractors, they're very, very incompetent, to say the least, and they don't really properly know how to remove mold, right? So especially I would say if your house is old, get yourself an inspector, a general contractor, a handy person, someone who is licensed to look for mold and to remove it. Because honestly, besides smelling it, we felt a little ill. We started to get sick. Luckily, we were only in the property for 2 days, but that second day was too much. While we were leaving, I was actually getting a headache. Okay, so I know that if I stayed there a week, I would not have made it. When people write reviews, whether you like the review or not, be attentive to it, listen to it. If it's negative, especially if you get more than one negative review on the same issue, in addition to having a handyman, a contractor, somebody licensed with mold removal, you might want to actually visit the property yourself and see what's going on. Okay? And then encourage your guests to report any problems to you, but do it in a way where they feel comfortable in coming to you. If you have bad customer service, when something goes wrong, people may not feel comfortable telling you, hey, you're running low on this particular item. Can I get more, or what do I have to go to the store and buy it? Things like that. And some people, they will not say anything if they sense that you have an attitude, or there's some sort of personality disposition, either you or the cleaner, to be quite honest with you. They won't tell you, but they will write a bad review. So to prevent bad reviews, or there are some people like myself who don't really like to give bad reviews unless you really, really deserve it. We will just not give you any review at all. Okay, so for those of you who are established, you probably won't care. But for those of you who are getting up off the ground, you will care. It matters. Reviews equal money. So, and a bad review will equal less money. So, improve upon your customer service skills when you are communicating with your guests. You have to make it so that they feel comfortable opening up and speaking to you. And don't try to blame them for certain things that go wrong, particularly if it's definitely caused by the cleaner. And I'll give you an example. So when we came into this one particular property, the bed on the outside of it, it looks made and it looks nice. But when I pulled the covers off, I realized that there were t-shirts there. When I went into one of the drawers, there was underwear, and it was not a woman's underwear, it was a man's underwear. And I was not traveling with a man. So, being that I didn't discover it until late at night, I said, I don't want to disturb this person in the morning. I don't want them, at this time, I don't want them to feel that they need to come or send somebody over for that. Because it was like around 11:30 at night. Anyway, I contacted the person in the morning, and they were like, well, why didn't you contact me earlier? And because of that, I felt uncomfortable speaking with them. There was another incident, to be honest, prior to that made me a little bit uncomfortable. The cleaner had accused me of being very angry and distraught. I wasn't. To be quite honest with you, I think that because I am a Black woman and there is a stereotype, I believe that is why she said that. Because I was quite all right when I came in and things weren't ready. There were places I wanted to go, and as long as, since they were willing to keep the luggage, I was okay. So I'm not sure why she turned around and reported me to him about that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. As I said, they will be renamed. I will not name them. I will not even name the city that I went to. All I will say is that I was not made to feel comfortable to let them know what was wrong, or to even ask a question. So there you go. The next thing that I've noticed, that this particular B&B, and then another one, the first one that I stayed in, a lot of times the cleaners, for whatever reason, like to leave the windows open. I guess it's for fresh air and let the air circulate within the home. Here's the problem. There's no screens on those windows. So because there's no screens on the windows, various bugs come into the home, and they are quite annoying. Particularly the first one, there were some huge bugs that were flying around. Some of them flew and landed on various parts of my body. I know that I was bitten by a mosquito. So please talk to your cleaners about doing things like that. And I highly, highly recommend that every owner has a screen in every window. Okay. The next thing that I notice is that, and I've been speaking to other owners as well, long distance, they say that every cleaner does not clean the same. And this is so true. You actually need standard operating procedures on how you want your units cleaned. it's wow. It baffled me when I first heard it, but then I saw it with my own eyes and I was like, whoa, wow. Yeah, it's needed. You need to tell them, as in the example before, they need to strip the bed. They need to completely, especially now with COVID-19 and now monkeypox, they need to take all of the sheets off of the bed, even if they smell good. Remove everything and then put new linens and covers on the bed. And then have those old ones washed. Okay, that's definite. The next thing that needs to be done is they need to be told to wipe the tables and wipe the chairs down, as well as the toilet seats. Wipe them clean. I'm going to be honest with you. As a newer short-term rental host, I was a little offended when one of the guests came with her own blankets and her own sheets and everything else like that. I was like, darn, I spent money here. I went and, bought everything new and washed the old things and had extra, linens in the drawers and everything like that. I wonder, why did she feel the need to bring her own? Well, after this particular experience, I understand exactly why she felt the need to do so. I was unaware of this, but yes, many of them, even in today's day, they don't change the sheets. And you know what? Listen, don't say, well, all Airbnbs and short-term rentals are that way. No, this is not true. Because I definitely change. But guess what? Some hotels don't either. My mother once stayed in a hotel and there was lipstick on the pillow. So yes, even hotels, sometimes they don't change the linens and what have you. And I remember another hotel we had stayed at and they didn't give us toilet tissue. One time they only had us with one roll of toilet tissue and we didn't have any more. So you need to talk to your cleaners and definitely have a standard operating procedure with that, because when it is an Airbnb, I would say if they're only staying a few days, three rolls is good. If they're staying longer, you may want to add more, and you want the guests to, of course, call you when it's run out so that you can replace. If it's a short-term rental, it's a little bit different. Short-term rentals, you normally leave, a roll or two there, and then the guests will be responsible for replenishing it, unless you specify in the agreement, who is going to be responsible. Okay, so that's that. toilet tissue situation, we may laugh, but it is extremely important. The other thing that I'm seeing that cleaners are not doing, they have to clean the stove and they should clean the microwave. Again, you do have some guests that are very particular. I'm a little bit of a particular person myself, and I don't want to go in and see any stains. I want it to be pristine, especially if I'm spending a certain amount of money. I may give leeway to certain things, but yes, the cleaners, you have to be on top of them to make sure they do the job that you pay them for. Okay? And unfortunately, some of them do not do the job well. Okay? All right. So then there's one other tidbit to add, and that's this. Be honest in your description of the location of your property and any pitfalls or drawbacks. Don't have the guests come and then tell them at the last minute. That's not really the best. It's really better to put it in the description or to let them know up front, especially when they ask you. So if you are quote unquote in the hood, all right, tell them, look, this property is in the hood, especially if they ask you about crime. Don't hold back. Don't try to hide it. Don't say no, that there's no crime. Admit, listen, hey, I'm in such and such a city, and cities are known for crime. This particular neighborhood is transitioning. It's going through gentrification. So yes, there is some crime. So you do need to be alert, and you do need to be be aware of your surroundings. Okay. Now you can say, even though we have these issues, it is 10-minute, 5-minute walk from where you're going to be working, or it's very close to the attractions that are nearby that you'd be interested in. Or you can say, I know that there are some hosts that offer pickup at the airport, pickup at the train station. There are some hosts that also offer parking, right? So if you have parking, particularly secured parking behind the house or next to the house, you can also add, if you have cameras, and I do encourage you to buy cameras and place them throughout the property, the front, and anywhere, honestly, where people can have access, you should have a camera there. These type of things make your guests feel more comfortable, more at home. They know what they're getting into, right? And it might not be crime. It might be, again, you have an old home. Because your home is old, you might not be able, or one might not be able, to have the AC and the microwave on at the same time. It's one or the other, right? Put that in the description. Let them know beforehand. Believe it or not, it may not deter people. I stayed in a place like that, and I would stay in that place again. Why? Because it was close to the attractions. I didn't have to spend money on transportation, and the few places where transportation was needed. It wasn't a lot of money and it wasn't a lot of time. So if that's the trade-off, then that's the trade-off, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Why? Because I'm spending less money than if I were to stay in a hotel in that particular city. You see what I'm saying? So listen, whatever negatives that are with the home, let them know ahead of time so that they can prepare. Because before you prepare for a trip as far as what to bring, you have to bring yourself, bring your mind. So you have to prepare your mind first. And then when they know certain things, they can say, okay, well, I am going to pack X, Y, and Z so that this way I can be more comfortable in that home or in that particular neighborhood. You understand? So again, I just felt that it was necessary based on my previous experiences that I've had with Airbnbs to share with you. And so far, I would say out of the 4 or 5 Airbnbs that I've stayed at, one, I would say, is the best and is perfect. Oh, wait, I just remembered one other major detail with that particular one. Okay, it was a beautiful apartment on the waterfront, very close to an event that I needed to go to. Here's the ticker. The property was in another country, and their appliances are not the same as what we have in the United States of America. On top of that, the appliance was in another language. So, one more tidbit that I just remembered is this. Have a book with instructions on how to use the different things in your home. And if you are, let's say, hosting in one country, and you know that most of the travelers that you are going to attract are from another country where the language that you speak is not their primary language, maybe you should also have an additional book or have everything translated. Okay? Because I have a guest book, believe it or not. The first page is basically where you see a picture of myself, you have my phone number, and the Wi-Fi password. That is like number one. Okay? Then next, I have a list of how to use the stove, the microwave, the blender, the coffee machine, the TV. In addition to all of that, I list the attractions that are nearby, how to get there. I list the restaurants and what have you. So yes, it is definitely important. Even though that was a spectacular spot, I would say that that was the only downfall, because it took me literally 3 days to figure out how to use that microwave, and then I just got frustrated and used the stove. And even the stove, even though it was easier, it did take me at least an hour to figure that out too. So yes, please put in a binder for your guests to show them how to do things. And listen, it's not too, some of you may say, oh, that's a bit too much. No, it is not, because when you go to a hotel, a lot of times there's a welcome book. In that book, it tells you what is on the property, how to get to those places, like what floor are certain services offered. It tells you the TV stations and what channel it will get you to what station, right? So, yes. Now, they may not tell you how to use the microwave and the refrigerator, uh, most of them, and you have some apartment hotels as well. That might not either, but I'm telling you, it is a breath of fresh air, and it will help out. Especially when the language is different. So where I'm at, I'm working on doing this. As a matter of fact, there are a number of Spanish speaking and French speaking people, and many of the people who speak those languages do travel to not just this country, but they actually come into my neighborhood. Many of them have made my neighborhood their primary residence. So after they visit, they actually stay. Some of them have family here, and some of them do not have family, to be quite honest with you. So yes, I will be working on having everything translated into Spanish and French, just in case, in the future, the short-term rental guests that I have do not speak English, or English might not necessarily be their primary language, so it may be, somewhat of a struggle. Okay? All right, guys, so that's all the information that I have to share with you. Hopefully the information that I've shared help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this amongst your friends. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.